Hello people, today we're going to be doing what I'm calling a marble stripe nail. We're going to do a really cool technique for the marble. But first we will start with the nail tips, which I've got prepped. And I'm going in with mostly on white. The two ring fingers are going to be a different color, but the rest of them will all be white. And, oh, I already see a hair. I see a hair on there already. Okay, we're going to go in with a nice thin coat of white because we do not want wrinkling. And I just grabbed the ring finger off of there. So luckily, and I just now realized that, luckily the ring finger and the index finger for this set were the same size, so that worked out. Now this marbling technique is something that I saw Kirsty Meakin do maybe a couple years ago now, and I thought it was a really cool technique. I wanted to try it, and lo and behold, I'm finally getting around to it. Okay, the accent nail on this one is going to be purple. On the other hand, the accent nail will be the blue. Oh, now what? It must be another hair again. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Those are going to go into cure. And as I check them, and like magic, they're cured, and now we're back for the second coat. There's two coats on these, on all the color on all the nails. Now, for the most part, I use Beetles polishes for this set, except for this. Well, I take that back. Never mind. Never mind. I just realized. I was going to say except for the white, but I just realized that the green I used was not Beetles either. Well, I hope you guys can't hear all that noise. My computer's making a really loud noise right now. It doesn't sound good. Hopefully it doesn't crap out on me. Okay, and once I get the second coat on this purple one, we'll be ready to cure those again. Okay, those have been cured. Moving on to the marble. I've taken a plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag, you could use a sandwich bag. I've cut it down one side and across the bottom, and I've opened it up flat. Okay, these are the polishes that I'm going to be using. Okay, we've opened it up flat. I put something on the corners because I didn't want to lay down there and behave. So, okay, we're just going to take the colors we're going to use for the marble, and we're just going to dot these on here. Now, like I said, I saw Kirsty Meakin do this, and it really was cool. Now, I have cut mine into stripes for this set. You don't have to do stripes. You can make little shapes, you know, squares, triangles, whatever, and use them that way. I don't recommend using plastic wrap for this because I think it will be too thin. You need a clear plastic stuff that has a little bit of body to it to give it a little bit of oh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's got to be a little bit like stiff. And I think plastic wrap would be a little too soft and squishy. You'll just keep on putting the colors in here that we're going to use. Use any colors you want. Initially, I was just going to use these 3 colors, but then I decided I think I needed to break them up with just a little bit of white. So I will go and put a tiny bit of white in the mixture. Okay, I did this whole process before I started polishing the nails, so I wanted to make sure it was going to work before I started in case I had to revise my plan. Okay, just a little bit of white here and there just to break it up a bit. Okay, now here's the cool part. We are going to fold the other side of the plastic over top. And then you're going to smush it down. Smush it down flat. Kind of mix it up. Now on this part, you want to try to get it as thin as possible. I did run into one little tiny section in there that did not get, it wasn't thin enough. Okay, now I have popped that in and cured it 60 seconds on one side, and then I flipped it over and cured 60 seconds on the other side. Now, as I was saying, there was one tiny little section of here where it was a little thick and it didn't cure inside, so I had wet, uncured polish on a little tiny part. Now, the thinner you can get it, the better, but on the other hand, the thinner it is, the more fragile it is. So after it's done curing, we're going to peel it off gently, very gently. Once you get it started, you can go with it, but okay, then we have our marble. And also, the thinner you can get it, the better it's going to lay on your nail, too. Like I said, some of my parts were a little thick, as this was the first time I've done this. Okay, once we have that peeled off, then you're going to cut out whatever shapes you want. Now, I started off with my cuticle scissors and quickly realized the blade is curved. I'm not going to get a nice straight line, so then I switched over to some regular scissors. Okay, this here I'm just cutting the edge off so I can have a nice straight part. And then gently we're just going to cut out. In my case I did stripes, so we're just going to cut the strips out. They were a little bit staticky, wanted to stick to there. They're not wet at all, it's totally dry. And then I decided I need skinnier strips. I made that one a little fat. You just need to handle it a little carefully. But for the most part, it was pretty easy to do. I always like trying out new stuff I haven't done before. I get tired of doing the same thing over and over, so that's why you guys will see me trying new stuff all the time. It doesn't always go well, but on the bright side, you'll see all the mistakes that I made, and then if you want to do it, you can avoid those. Alright, I think that's all I made to start with. And okay, then we're going to be ready to put them on the nails. Now I started off with base gel, which is why you see one already on there. It wasn't working very well for me, so I decided to switch to foil glue instead, which worked a lot better at keeping it still on there where I wanted it. Okay, so we'll get the foil glue on. Before I cure that, I'm going to put foil glue on the other ones. You can see the thumb I already did with the base gel. It just did not go well. It didn't want to stay on there. It kept moving around while I was trying to get it in there to cure. So, hence the reason I switched to foil glue. The only issue with the foil glue was it made the white just ever so slightly yellow. Not a lot, but just enough so it's not like a bright white, which you can see when you see the finished ones later. But this was the best way I could figure to do it. So now we've got the foil glue has been cured, and it is extremely sticky, as you guys know. So I will go ahead and get my piece of stripe, and I will just stick that on where I want it. Okay, now I think I trimmed the edges off a little bit right now. They don't have to be trimmed off perfectly, because later on, oh wait, I'm going to press it on there better. Later on, I will file the edges down and get off any excess that's hanging over a little bit. I did try to cut them just slightly shy of the edge, but there were some that it was laying over. And also I had a problem getting that edge to stay down flat and stay on there. So at one point, I don't know if I show it or not, but I did go in with a tiny bit of nail glue right under the edge and glue that down better before I did any top coating or anything, because you don't want top coat getting underneath there, because then it doesn't want to stick at all. Now see how that's slightly hanging over? That'll get filed off the edge, so don't worry about that. And you can see how sticky that foil glue is. Okay, we got that one on. Now we're going to move on to one of the other ones. I'm going to do the other, I think this is the long stripe. This might be the only one I show too, I don't remember now. The longer stripes were a little trickier because of the stiletto tip on there. Would have worked perfect on a coffin shape or square. But we're just going to lay that down, try to get it centered up. I think it was off to the side. I decided to try to move it, and it was a little bit of it was sticking off on there. So okay, I've got that back on there. I was trying to get it to lay on there without touching the sticky part, because I didn't want that sticky foil glue all over my gloves. And here I was trying to pull that end up because I wanted to move it, but it wasn't working, so I just decided, okay, fine, you can stay where you are. Close enough. And I am going to trim these ends off. And once again, it doesn't need to be trimmed perfect, because I will file the edges off later. Boy, I'm badly out of shot on here. Okay, we're going to trim off the big part, And then I will trim those little corners down somewhat with my nippers. The rest of that that's on there, I will just get when I do the filing of the edge part. Okay, and there's that one. Now, one thing I said about keeping that marble stuff as thin as possible, which it was only really an issue on those vertical stripes because some parts of mine were kind of thicker, so it left a pretty good like raised ridge along there. So I ended up having to do a bunch of layers of top coat. In this one, I decided to use that fatter strip that I made at the beginning, just to use it. I guess I could have cut it in half, but oh well. In this, I think this one got slightly crooked, and then I couldn't take it back off. Also, pulling it off of that real sticky surface, I was kind of afraid it was going to tear. See, here's where I decided I'm going to try to pull it off. It's like, nope, it's not going to come back off. Let's leave it alone. Leave it. Now I'm going to give it another go on this side. See, it's just not coming off. So we're going to have to live with that one being just slightly crooked. Now I drop the piece on there, for Pete's sake. And you can't even see what I'm doing now. I thought I was getting better at keeping these things in shot, but since I've upped the magnification on it, now it's like it's out of my. It's just I have to be way more careful where it is in the shot. Whoopsie. Some of these guys really just did not want to cooperate. But I'm just trimming the edges off. Be nice if you could see it. And as I said, they don't need to be perfect, as I will file the edges down to get anything that's hanging over that I maybe missed on the trim. Okay. I think I'm going to press it down a little real good. And then I think we're going to be ready for top coat. Okay, and there we go. Now I'm going to use a glossy top coat. Like I said, I did glue down the edges of the one on this pinky nail because they kept wanting to pop up. And we're not top coating the accent one because that's going to be matte top coated later. See, this one I'm looking at and I'm seeing that the edge of the stripe is kind of thick, so you can see how it looks kind of, you got the ridge there. So I'm putting a rather hefty layer of top coat on. again with this one. This was the one I put on with the base coat. This one had a really big ridge to it too. Okay, and I will give those a cure. And they're out, and I'm going to go in another coat of base coat, which I've sped this up, obviously. And frankly, I put on two more layers of this top coat. I mean, not base coat. 2 more layers of the top. I was trying to thicken it up so that I could file and buff to smooth out the ridges on some of those. And you'll notice now that my thumbnail is poking through my gloves. I am not liking these vinyl gloves at all. That one came through. I think the pinky ended up poking through later. And then I got product in there somehow, so kind of defeated the whole point of wearing gloves. So I've ordered some more latex, as that seems to be what works the best for me, as they're more stretchy and elasticy. Okay, I'm not going to show you doing the third layer of the base, the top. It's going to be exactly like this one you just seen. I was trying to fill in along the side of there to get those ridges to smooth out. So if I had gotten that marble stuff thinner, then it would that wouldn't have been as big an issue. Now I am going to file and buff these guys to try to smooth that out a bit more. I think I'm just going to show you the thumb and maybe one of the other fingers. You see, I'm going to go along the edge and get any part of that that's sticking over. File down. And we will do that on here. I didn't finish showing you the thumb because I was out of shot on most of it. But clean the edges up so there's none of that hanging over the edge. That one I think came out fairly smooth. I don't think I had to do very much buffing on here. The rest of them I'll deal with off camera after this one. I think they would have looked pretty matte too, but I've done so many matte ones lately that I just felt like I needed to do a glossy set. Okay, now we're ready to move on to the stickers. These stickers, I believe, came from AliExpress. If not, it was from Amazon. It could be either one, but most of the stuff I usually get from Ali. I generally buy stuff way in advance, so it's not like I am usually in a big hurry for anything, and if I do need it in a hurry, then I'll go with Amazon. I'm just trying to figure out where it's going to go and what I want to do with it. Then I will cut it out as close. These are decals, not stickers. I think I misspoke a while ago. But I will cut this out as close to the edge of the design as I can. And now I'm going to use the stamper method to put these decals on, which I had never done before. This has been a while since I've used decals, so I gotta get on the bandwagon here and try this one out. And frankly, it worked really well, so I'm very pleased with it. I'll be using this method from now on, putting decals on. Now we've laid that on the stamper head upside down. You want to use a clear stamper head so you can see where you're putting it later. I'm just going to dab some water on here, on the back of it. Let it sit for I don't know, 15-20 seconds, give or take, and let that soak through. Once it soaks in good enough, it will release from the backing. It wasn't quite ready yet. See, it's not ready yet. Not ready. Put some more water on there, woman. There we go. Let that soak in. And then, there we go. See, it slides off nicely. And now I don't have to handle the decal, getting the gluey stuff off the back on my fingers or anything. And I can place it exactly where I want it and flatten it out all in one swoop. And there we go. Nicely put on there, all flat, no wrinkles, no bubbles. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. I wish I'd known about this sooner. Okay, move on to this one. Now with this decal, I did have a little bit of an issue, I think, but I sorted it out. Putting it on there, it's all trimmed and cut. I'll let it soak in. And while that is doing its thing, I got a couple more of them cut out. I think this is the last one I'm going to show, and then I did the rest off camera, I believe. I think the hardest part for this was trying to handle these things with these gloves on and cut things out carefully. Now this one, when I took it off of there, I messed it up. See how it's kind of folded up a little and wrinkly? So I'll get the silicone tool and I'm going to just very gently straighten it back out. I was hoping at that point that I didn't completely break it, and luckily I didn't. It was just folded up some. So I just needed to sort it out. Okay, I think we're good. Here we go. And on to the nail we go. Okay. Oop, there it is. Alright, so after I've done the rest of those, now somehow I didn't press record when I top coated, but I put another thin layer of glossy top coat on all of those and the matte top coat on the blue and the purple nails. And now we are at the point of the crystals. I did not show you the crystals for this one, but I'm using for this nail, this was the purple one, I used kind of a dark smoky purple crystal and some AB clears. You know, attempting to do some kind of a design that was a little bit different than the stuff I normally do. So I realized I don't have nearly enough glue in the way I need it to be. And I've taken the gloves off because they had holes in them anyway, and secondly, I find it much easier when I have to work with tiny, delicate stuff if I don't have them on. I did end up getting a breakout from this though, because I had managed to get product on the mat, so as I'm holding stuff, my hand is like rubbing against the mat, and I got it on there. So, oh well. Could have been worse. Hey, I'm making kind of a, well, it's kind of a square, it's like a diamond-shaped square if you look at it from the side. I don't know. I started off with the big clear one in the middle, went around with the top and the bottom. I put kind of the same size of the purple, and then on the sides I did kind of a smaller purple one. And I filled the gaps in between all of those with a kind of smaller-ish clear. And then I'm going to go in here now with a little bit smaller purple on either end, and then a real teeny tiny purple one on the end of those that I just did. As soon as I get some more glue. And I'm using my usual gem glue that I always use, the Tinator one. Okay, that one I realized, nope, that's not small enough. That's not the tiniest one. That guy's got to come back out of there. That's the tiniest one that I like right there. Go right on the end. Oh, sorry. I thought I edited out all those when the top of my head was in there again. Okay, then I'm going to get these all lined up where I want them. And then we're going to get out the caviar beads, which I'm using silver on these. Which quite frankly is what I most often use, is the silver. Personally, I'm not a gold person, so I tend to go with silver a lot. Although I do like white gold, but that doesn't help me for this instance. And I am going to need to put glue all where I want the caviar beads, because I did not have any excess glue squishing out of here this time. So we will do that. It's the tiniest little dot of glue. And then we'll start putting the caviar beads on here. That brush that I use for this normally, it used to be kind of gluey and it had dried to kind of a point, so it worked nicely for this, but I cleaned it recently, so now it's like all splayed out like a brush again. Wasn't working so well. At some point I'm going to switch to the other end of my dotting tool for these, because the brush was just giving me problems that day. Not to mention, I don't think I had enough glue at that spot. Here we go. I think I sped this section up ever so slightly just because it takes a while to do this, and you guys seen me do this a million times now. Unless you're new here, in which case, welcome. See, I'm having a lot of trouble getting them off the brush for some reason this time. So we're going to go with this little teeny tiny end of the dotting tool. That worked out much better. And I will put caviar beads at the end of the bottom and the top, and then in between all the crystals all the way around. I did not put one on the side crystals where those bigger purple ones are, purposely. And I'm not going to show you doing the one on the blue nail, because I'm doing the exact same design except for where there's purple crystals on here. I've got a light blue with a slight greenish tinge to it, AB crystal that I substituted in for the purple ones. But I did the exact same design on the blue nail, which you can see in the finished one. And I think I have them all on there, so now we're just going to tuck them all in nicely where they go. Make sure everything is straight and lined up where I want it. And then I will give that a 90-second cure. because I like to cure my gem glue longer than it probably really needs, just to make sure it's on there really well. When I got these out after I was done, I took an alcohol wipe, or a lint-free wipe with alcohol, and I wiped the top of the crystals off in case there was any waxy stuff on there. So there's the blue one, and since I had slopped glue around there a little bit, I went in with matte top coat again around the edges of these. I'm just going to butt it up next to there, not getting it on the crystals or the caviar beads. And once I get it all all butted up against those, nice and neat, then I will go back and give it like a vertical swipe down the whole thing, just to even it out, keep the brush strokes all going the same direction. It just looks neater later. And that will pretty much be it. Give that a cure, and that'll be it for them. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give me a like. And if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. I try to have at least one new video every week. They usually upload on Saturdays. And there's the finished set for you. Thank you very much for watching.